The story. The story of America's lost dreamer. Okay, folks, we're back. And this is episode number 50 here on our video cam. Debbie was in school at Philadelphia, and her mom, Sandy, said it was all right to park my trailer beside the house. These people have taken me in and saved my ass so many times it's pathetic. How can people be so good to someone as out to lunch as me? I was completely confused and down about the magic world by now, the music world by now. I didn't even want to sing. I just wanted to sit in that trailer and reflect on my past and cry. Nashville really took it out of me. I wanted to cry for the lost friends and lovers I may never see again or know what happened to them. Where was my life going? Why was I even alive? God, it all meant nothing to anyone but me. I was as lost as a puppy who wandered too far chasing frogs and butterflies. How would I ever find my way back home? Brother David went back to Illinois, and I stayed in the trailer in Maryland. Debbie and her family came out and got me for meals, and the rest of the time I wrote poetry and music. If I didn't need money, I'd never work bars. I just want to write and sing for my friends. Bars are terrible places. Besides, I can get in trouble faster than you can say Jack Rabbit. As long as I write and sleep, I don't get in trouble. Put me in a bar, and I'm in trouble immediately. Debbie had a semester and a half left in downtown Philly, and she would go into an internship with animals at Kennett Square in the field with instructors. After a month or so, I called Willie Joe at Seven Springs. He told me that they had cut big windows and huge doors from the sliding doors into the Bavarian Lounge at the resort, and the bar opened into the lobby and the hallway. And they had also installed TVs and video games. He said, Mountain John, we can't use you in there because you can't do your comedy in an area where children can hear 150 people hollering, oh shit, yahoo, amen. I said, Willie, I'll drop the comedy and I'll sing Michael Row the Boat Ashore. He said, okay, and I started booking gigs at Seven Springs again. I had an old friend in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, on the other side of the state, not far from Philly, who owned a biker's bar with heavy metal rock and roll. I called Chuck, and he said when I wasn't out by Pittsburgh at Seven Springs, I could go and do comedy between the bands. Debbie and I had changed. The fire was gone between us romantically, but the magic of belief in our dreams was still there. We still loved each other, but it was evident I was never going to calm down, and I wasn't. She invited me to her apartment in Philly to hang out and see Philly, the city. City it was, and Mountain John I am. We didn't mix too well. I started staying at Chuck's in Pottstown, and Debbie studied and went to class 24 hours a day. I stayed gone most of the time. When I was there, I wrote, drank, took her to dinner, dropped her off at classes, and picked her up. I gave her a break and someone to talk to. She told me once that when I died, she was going to have me stuffed and sit me in her rocking chair so she would have someone to talk to. A customer at Chuck's told me about a small inn 30 miles up the road in a town called Bally, Pennsylvania. He said, Mountain John, it's small and you'll love it. I didn't want to go, but one Friday night they were having an open mic at the Bally Hotel, and Chuck said, come on, you need to start working more. I was still down lower than a snake's ass and didn't want to get started singing 1,000 miles a week again. Nashville had taken the wind out of my sails. Chuck was right, though, and I drove up to Bally. It was an old Pennsylvania hotel from the 1700s, and it had a small bar and dining room that seated about 65 people. Perfect size for my show. Every seat could see the stage. No game machines, TVs, or pool tables. A man named Phil Stahl was hosting open mic, and I gave him my name and said I'd like to get up and sing. He said I would be about 5 more musicians down the list, and I said, all right, I'll wait. I walked up to the bar to get a drink. As I walked past a few guys at the bar, one of them said, "Look, Big Gene, it's your illegitimate son." As I walked past these guys, I turned around, and an old man that looked more like Santa than Santa himself was looking at me, smiling from ear to ear. I said, "Daddy?" He said, "Son?" I said, "Where were you in April of 1949? He said, "Baxter Springs, Kansas, racing Harley-Davidson motorcycles." I said, "Oh shit, that's where my mother's from." We shook hands, laughed, bought each other a drink. Now I knew he wasn't my father, but for him to have been in Kansas when I was born was more than coincidence in my mind. For him to have been in Baxter Springs, where my mother and father were from, was crazy. No one in Pennsylvania had ever mentioned that town, much less ever heard of it. Big Gene, a major person in my life. We talked and drank until Phil Stahl called my name to sing. I jumped on stage and sang 3 songs of mine, and then did Yukon Tim and the stolen Jerry Jeff Walker song at the end of the poem, and got a standing ovation, and Phil took a break and introduced me to the bar owner, Jim Finnegan, another crazy Irishman who owned a bar. I think God creates these people and gives them to me just to keep me humble. At the same time, I started working at a bar called the Gandy Dancer in Baltimore, owned by Pat Flanagan. Between Chuck, the Country Tavern, Willie Joe, Seven Springs, Finnegan, the Valley Hotel, and Flanagan, the Gandy Dancer, I was working again. Oh shit, Yahoo, amen.